Welcome to Spirited Investigations and welcome to Nebraska's haunted history. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions if relaxing or studying. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. First, we go to the Hatchet House in Omaha. Back in the early 1900s, schools were much smaller, sometimes only the size of one classroom, and the one now known as the Hatchet House is formerly called Portal School. The story tells that one day an otherwise kindly schoolteacher finally snapped. She had brought an axe and killed every last one of her students. She then cut out their hearts, went to a nearby bridge, and threw them over the edge. It's also said she cut off each head and put them in the desks before finally killing herself. The bridge nearby is known as Heartbeat Bridge. If you listen carefully, it's said you may still hear the beating hearts of the murdered school children. And if you go to the classroom, you can hear the evil teacher. At number 2 is Wilderness Park in Lincoln. It holds another horrifying tale. On August 10, 1894, a train full of passengers and cargo was making its way down the Rock Island Railroad line. Suddenly, as it reached a trestle, the track crumbled away. The train plummeted 40 feet down to the ground before being engulfed in flames. At least 11 people died, and many more were injured. It was quickly discovered the line had been sabotaged, with connecting spikes having been pulled out with a crowbar. It was the largest mass murder Nebraska had ever seen, and while an arrest was made, no one found out who did it or why. The site is now the Wilderness Park, and some say that at night you can still hear the wrenching of metal bending and breaking and the crash of the train. You may also hear yourself being followed by the footsteps of those who lost their lives in that horrible sabotage. Third on our list is the Black Angel of Council Bluffs. If you go to Council Bluffs, which is along the border between Iowa and Nebraska, there is a statue in the town called the Ruth Ann Dodge Memorial. The memorial sits next to a fountain. Ruth had a vision 3 times on her deathbed, within which an angel would invite her to drink the water of life. She refused the first 2 times, but drank it on the 3rd and died. Her daughters had the memorial built. Some say you can see fire burning in her eyes at midnight, while others say that children who go behind the base of the statue will vanish forever. Most distressingly, though, is if you gaze into her eyes in the dead of night, you'll see your early demise. If she later appears in your dreams, you know you'll soon be dead. At number 4 is the Salt Witch of the Nebraska Plains. There are several variations of this legend, but they all involve a pillar of salt. One popular version is there was once a Native American chief who lived out on the Nebraska Plains. He was so fierce and angry that only his wife could go near him. When his wife died, he wandered away for a while to help with his grieving. When he got back, he told his tribe of meeting an old crazy woman who was attacking a younger woman. When he tried to help and calm down the situation, he saw that the younger woman looked exactly like his wife. Possibly thinking it was witchcraft, he buried his hatchet in the old woman's head. He reached out to the younger woman, but both were swallowed by the earth. A pillar of salt stood where both women had been. For many generations, Native Americans would go and beat the ground near the salt pillar with their clubs to keep the evil from coming back to attack them. The ritual is still performed by some people today, who still believe the Salt Witch may return. Halfway through the list we have the Temple Theatre building in Lincoln. The Temple Theatre at the University of Nebraska suffered tragedy right away after it was constructed. A stagehand was killed, and it's said his ghost can be seen as an apparition near the stage. A shadowy figure has also been seen in the sound booth. Sounds themselves include thumping from the attic, the noise of chairs being thrown, and of someone walking along the balcony. Perhaps the most striking sound is of someone tap dancing on the stage. Also, sometimes a seat will drop down in the audience area as though someone's come in and wants to sit in it. Quite the amount of activity already. Extra reports are of musical instruments playing themselves when no one's around, and the prop department has reported objects being arranged for them, such as dolls or various items needed for a performance. The school puts on a haunted house production there every year, which seems appropriate enough. At number 6 is Taylor Cemetery in Taylor, Nebraska. This is the legend about Lottie Edwards, who lived in the late 1800s and well into the 1900s. Her grave is in the cemetery. Some say she was run over by a car, and some say she was murdered. Well, she's in that grave and thought to have been a witch. The legend says that she practiced dark arts and witchcraft even after her death. Shortly after she was buried, 3 grave robbers dug her back up with the idea of stealing her jewellery, but she opened her eyes, came back to life for a few moments and cursed them. Each of those grave robbers died in grisly ways. Now it's said if you go to her grave, and especially if you disrespect it, then she may curse you as well, and that you'll either die or disappear without a trace. Unfortunately, some teens have been in the cemetery and caused damage to the tombstone of Lottie Edwards and to some of those that are nearby. Curse or not, we can hope that those vandals get what's coming to them. At spot number 7 is Blackbird Hill, north of Decatur. A young woman had been madly in love with a man who then went off to travel and didn't return. After some time, she married someone else and all but forgot about her other boyfriend. However, one day, long after she was married, the man turned up again at her cabin and explained he'd been shipwrecked. It had taken him all that while to get back to the United States and to get back to her. The two of them realized they were still in love with each other, but of course she was now married. She decided to leave her husband. Well, her husband wasn't too fond of that idea, and rather than lose her, grabbed hold of her and pulled her along to the top of a nearby cliff, Blackbird Hill. He jumped off the top, taking her with him. Her old boyfriend watched the scene and heard her screaming all the way down. Nowadays, no plants will grow along the path where the woman was dragged along, and it's said that on October 17th in particular, you can still hear her final screams as she plummets from the cliff. At number 8 is Ball Cemetery in Springfield. People have reported some truly crazy things to have happened at that cemetery, which is thought to be one of the most haunted places in Nebraska. A tall male apparition sometimes attacks nighttime visitors. Also, a female ghost called Mary Mumford will laugh at people and tug on their clothing. Photographs taken there often contain anomalies which believers swear are evidence of ghostly presences. Another strange and common event is for gravestones to tip over and then right themselves again. Do note the cemetery is now private property and there's an active neighbourhood watch where local people will look for anyone entering at night. They're apparently not afraid to use a shotgun when seeing trespassers. For number 9, we're back to Lincoln with Antelope Park. Just behind the caretaker's house in the park is a field, within which people claim to have seen apparitions walking across it. Those ghosts then disappear into the woods on the other side of the field. Added to those is documented evidence of a man who committed suicide by hanging himself from the swing set in the play area of the park around 20 years ago. It's said that the feeling of being watched and of being uneasy in that area is common. Sometimes, late at night, shadows have been seen in that area. Finally, Hummel Park near Omaha is 202 acres of terrifying public park. There are ghosts, an ancient Indian burial ground, cults, and it's been the site of so many grisly murders that it's surprising they actually built a park there. In fact, it's known to be one of the most haunted parks in the United States. Probably the most bizarre and frightening legend at Hummel Park is of a group of albinos who live together somewhere out in the park. In some versions of the legend, they actually live in the trees themselves. That wouldn't be too creepy, except they will supposedly attack and kidnap you because they're cannibals who feed on the flesh of those who wander around the park alone at night. Yeah, that's a great legend. Albino cannibals hiding in the trees that'll attack and eat you. Whoa. Thank you for joining me on this little journey. From zombie witches to albino cannibals, Nebraska has some weird and wonderful tales to share. I hope you'll join me for the next one.